Yes, people. Welcome to another edition of the finished article, All Things Football. As you can see, the title, we haven't been really doing videos because the football season has been attacked yet again by COVID-19. And we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to bring my boy Shaz on and we'll get straight into this one. Yes, bro. Good to see you again over here on the podcast, bro.
What's happening, bro? It's been a while. How you doing?
It's been a while, bro. I know. I mean, what can I say, bro? I mean, COVID's still around. The Omicron variant's running rampant. It's freaking Christmas Eve. You know what I mean? And things are just getting out of hand with this virus, isn't it, bro?
Yeah, what you forgot to mention, I can't even sort my fantasy football team out right now because COVID's cancelling games right now.
Bro, it's not just affecting football. It's not affecting real life. It's affecting fantasy football, man. Come on. Come on, man. I mean, when something starts affecting your fantasy football, it's getting a bit serious. Bro. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. Now, this whole thing with, it looks like it. At one point, it looked like maybe the Premier League was gonna stop fans coming to games again, like they did earlier this year and the end of last season, and the whole of last season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I'll let you go into it a bit more. I know you talked about the meeting, so you tell me what was the actual meeting about, man? Because I haven't really read much on it, to be fair.
So basically, what's happened is the Premier League, being politics as always, says we don't care. We don't give a shit about COVID. We want all the games to get played. However, on the side note, as you saw today, Everton, Burnley got postponed. Liverpool, Leeds, and another game got postponed yesterday. So on the one hand,
can I just ask? Sorry, the games that have been postponed, is that due to outbreak of COVID or?
Yeah, COVID.
Okay. So it is getting pretty serious, because a lot of teams have had to postpone games. I mean,
exactly. So
United postponed a game, two games now. The one against Brentford and another one this week. I think they're back in action on Monday against Newcastle at St James's Park.
So
crazy.
To fill Shaz in, so the meeting basically was that there was inconsistencies in how certain teams were getting postponed because of COVID. So Chelsea are a good example. They've had COVID cases and illnesses, but the Premier League wouldn't cancel their games. Because
I read that they asked for their game to be postponed, but it got rejected, saying that you've got enough people to play a game and you can put some injured players on your bench to cover them, which I think's a bit shady, because if United are able to postpone games because of an outbreak in the youth team or the under-23s, whichever it was, then why aren't Chelsea able to do it if it's their first team that's being affected?
Exactly.
You're right. You're right in that sense. It is very inconsistent.
It's like Shaz, it's like you said to me, Shaz, let's do something today, tomorrow, and all of a sudden you said, you know what? Actually, we can't do it. But hang on a sec. If you say that from the start, then there's no confusion.
Yeah, I got you on that one. Yeah, definitely.
What will happen is this congestion will hit everybody. So you think, okay, games are getting cancelled, but where are you going to fit them in? Then you got the Carabao Cup, you got the Champions League, you've got various other competitions going on as well. So it's bound to have an effect on. I mean, Liverpool are, Chelsea are even bringing in the under 23 players to cover for the fact that
the people that are out. Yeah,
it
is quite weird that some teams are allowed to postpone the games with no problems, but then you've got Chelsea. Fair enough, I don't like Chelsea, but if their first team's being affected by COVID and they're not allowed to postpone their games, then it's a bit of an unfair advantage to the other teams that the teams get to postpone the games and have a full squad, yet Chelsea aren't allowed to have a full squad. But
so I'll give you another example. I'll give you another example. One that we talked about on Monday's podcast. Monday's on All Things Sky Blues.
Yes.
So basically, Coventry's last two games have been postponed because the opposition's team hasn't had enough players. So what's going to happen now is in the Championship, as you know, they play 48 games over the season.
They do, yeah, man.
So now what you've got is teams that are playing our ability. So you either have to say, look, you're going to have a circuit breaker, call it a winter break if you like, because it's affecting. So last season, the issue was different. Fans weren't allowed in, but teams were playing. This time it's affecting teams. So it's not just, you can have all the fans in, but if you don't have a team out there, then
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like if you've got all the fans in the world in the arena, but they're not going to come and watch a half team, are they? Like,
no, exactly.
I'm not going to go watch. I mean, me and you, good example. We went to watch United versus Young Boys, and it was like an under 18s freaking squad because we'd already won the group, and Ragnick decided he's going to play every Tom, Dick, and Harry besides the players that we wanted to see.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean? And I get why he did it. But I think was that not United's last game they played, the one that we went to see, bro?
Yeah, so that's
they got postponed after that, didn't it? Yeah. So the last game that they had was the one that we went to Old Trafford against Young Boys.
Yes,
and that's crazy because that feels like it was quite a few weeks ago now.
It's a month and it's almost been like 4 or 5 weeks ago now.
Shit, man, that's crazy.
It's almost like the problem is what people don't realize is that it's not just that the guys can pick up and go up because they haven't played for a few weeks. They're going to be rusty. There's going to be players that need a bit of rhythm, and this is where I have an issue with the Premier League. You might as well call it as is and say, look, we need to cut it here, and we'll pick up here because you've got games that are going on. You got games that are, I'm like, mate, no offense, I don't want to watch Arsenal play anyway.
I think what they've done is they're not trying to postpone every game possible. They're trying to postpone the ones that definitely need it, and then do the ones that don't really need to be postponed. But it's just so there's not extra weeks added on to the end of the season. And I understand why they're doing it, but it is a bad decision on the Premier League's behalf that, there's so many teams having COVID outbreaks that you need to postpone the league for a couple of weeks, like they did when COVID first broke out. They postponed it a couple of weeks, and I think the Premier League finished in June or July, and then they had a 4-week break. No, then they had the Euros, didn't they?
Yes, correct.
And then they carried on straight after. Now, I don't understand why they wouldn't do that again because that's the safest option. Just speaking about games that have been postponed, I mean, I know a game for Tottenham got postponed is the European Conference League or something that they're in?
Yeah.
The one below the Europa League. It got postponed, but they never announced a new date for it. And apparently Tottenham had to forfeit the game and lose the 3 points and get knocked out of the competition.
Yeah, well,
apparently they're the first team. Apparently, Shaz, they're the first team in history that have been knocked out of the Champions League, Europa League, and the Europa Conference League. They're the first team in history to be knocked out of all 3 European competitions.
So if you put jokes to one side, because we love bottle jobs, but one thing that has to be said is that you can't have one rule for one competition and another. Technically, if you're gonna give forfeit points, then the same in the Premier League.
I get where you're coming from, but the difference in this situation, Shaz, is that the Premier League is run by the FA and the Premier League, whereas the European competitions are run by UEFA. So there's always going to be a difference because they don't. The thing with football is they should all just be run by FIFA, the international body. There shouldn't be separate divisions. There shouldn't be the FA and the UEFA. If you've got FIFA, why do you need these other departments or these other whatever they are? It's just weird because if they were all run by one company or one entity in as FIFA, then you wouldn't have this inconsistency across all the leagues. You'd have one set of rules, and all the divisions and leagues would have to follow them because they all come under one group basically. Yeah, you can have the different leagues like the Premier League, the Championship, Bundesliga, La Liga, and everything, but they should all come under the umbrella of FIFA and not the FA or whatever other divisions there are. It would make football a better place that they'd be all, everyone would be under one banner, and the rules and regulations across football would be easier to follow for not just the clubs but for the fans as well. I think it make football better, but it's never going to happen, obviously, because there's too much money involved in the FA and all these other, the UEFA and all this bullcrap, man. It's never going to happen, but if you ask me, that's probably the best way to go about it.
No,
merge them all together, like merge the FA and UEFA and everything into FIFA. Like no one needs to lose a job. Like you can merge them all into FIFA. But like I said, bro, it's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, no, your point is actually valid. So the problem is what you want to say is have everybody report into one body and they're all the single entity. Right now, they're individual associations and they all make different rules on X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I think pretty much you've hit the nail on this head in terms of this video.
I
I would
think,
say the only
Chaz, it's similar to where the Major League Soccer is running in America, because you've got Major League Soccer, which is the main brand, like, and let's call them FIFA, right? And then you've got the different divisions, like the Eastern, the Western, and all that, but they all come under MLS.
Yes.
And that's where America have got that right in the sense of football. They have that in the NBA, they have it in the NHL, the Major League Basketball, they have it in all their sports there, and they run better.
No,
It's like when the COVID outbreak happened, it was the MLS that made the decision to stop or postpone games. It wasn't FA and then FIFA and UEFA and all this bullcrap. It was just the MLS. Like, we're making this decision, you follow it. It wasn't FIFA saying something, UEFA saying something, the FA saying something, and then and then bloody Premier League says something different. They're like, no, we don't want to postpone games, but the FA like, no, you have to. No, we don't. Like, we're our own company. We do what we want.
Yeah, it's a lot of politics at the moment.
It's stupid, isn't it, man? But yeah, like you said, it's politics, it's money, and that's the problem with football. There's too much politics and there's too much money in it, and that's why it's never obviously going to be as good as it could be, bro. Yeah, and it's taken COVID to realize this. Some of the issues with football around the world, bro.
Well, now the other issue you've got to look at is like, so the whole COVID passport situation. So you're gonna have an issue whereby you could say take Old Trafford for example, was a 70,000 fans. Now the problem is, how are you going to police this whole COVID passport situation? So luckily, most people from the first batch would have got it, but we probably know loads of people that haven't got vaccinated and are United fans or football fans.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
Because they get affected. So how are you going to tie the two together? How are you going to enforce?
I mean, they can't make it mandatory for people to have the vaccine. So then, because they can't make it mandatory, they're not going to be able to say, right, to go to X, Y, and Z, you need a double vaccine, because it's discriminated against the, well, as you want to call them, the anti-vaxxers. So it's a difficult situation for everybody, really, because there's always going to be a group of people that are going to be against getting vaccinated, not just because it's COVID, but there's people that I know that they're against any vaccination. So like the flu vaccination, the vaccinations that you get as a child and things like that, they're against everything. Yeah. So they don't get any vaccination and they don't let anybody in the family get vaccinated. And it's those people that obviously, if it comes down to it and the government say, right, you have to have a vaccination for travel, which at the moment you do, to travel to other countries, most countries now, you have to have proof of double vaccination. And on top, you need a negative test before you fly out. So, and eventually it's going to be, you need a double vaccination to go to football games. You're going to need it to get into a lot of places. I know in some countries, in Pakistan, for instance, Shaz, to go into the mall, you have to have proof of double vaccination. Whether it's the passport on your phone or the little card that you get when you have your first dose and you get your second one stamped on, that's still proof. So you have to have that proof to get into the mall in Pakistan. And you have to have that proof to actually walk into the airport in Pakistan as well.
Yeah.
So it's, and that's going to, and to be fair, bro, that's going to be generalized everywhere soon. Like, the government want to be able to control every movement you make. And that's what they're using this COVID. They're using COVID to make it easier to track people as well. So when I say that, everything's becoming contactless in payments, which is easier for them to track. The less cash people use, the easier it is to track everybody.
Yeah, obviously.
The same with travel. You have to have a vaccination proof. You have to register with track and trace, the passenger locator form, all that bull crap. So they know where you've gone, how long you've gone for, when you're back, and then when you're back, there's no way you're going to be for them first 10 days because you
Bro,
have to isolate.
I never knew it'd be so much baller to go. Bro, think about this. Imagine United gets a Champions League final, hypothetically speaking, right now. Okay, no.
Good joke, bro. Good joke, bro. I like it. I like the joke, bro.
No, it's a serious one, and it can happen.
Hey, anything can happen in football, bro.
But yeah, imagine you go to a Champions League final. How then do you get a 48-hour PCR test? Make sure you've had everything done to go to the game. That seems like hassle, bro.
That's gonna be hassle, bro. That's gonna be a lot of hassle.
But you understand what I mean?
A, you've got to buy your ticket. B, you have to have your COVID jabs, both of them. C, you have to have a negative test 2 days before you fly out, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you come back, you have to have that 48-hour test as well. You have to fill in the passenger locator form, and then you have to isolate for 10 days. Is it worth going to a Champions League final and having to do all that on the back of it, bro? It's not, is it? It's ridiculous, man. I don't understand it.
But you understand where I go. This is how ridiculous it will get because people.
Oh yeah, 100%, bro.
Bro, imagine going to the cinema and having to fill out a locator form for saying I went to watch a movie. I'm like, all right, boys, I think you're getting a bit excessive now. But
yeah, bro, sorry, bro. I get where you're coming from, bro. Definitely. Like to go to the cinema, you can fill in a survey. You don't have to. One sec.
Yeah, no worries. Bless you, bro. Bless you. But yeah, as Shaz said, rules are getting a bit crazy. Going back onto the football, there are a number of games postponed, I believe. Burnley Everton was recently postponed. Today, who else? Liverpool Leeds is also postponed. I think that's it, unless there's another one, but off the top of my head. But guys, if I missed anything off the list, let me know.
Apologies. Man's got allergies today, bro.
No, that's fine, bro. That's fine.
Yeah, no, you were just saying about the games that have been postponed. I think there's been quite a lot of games over the past 2 weeks that have been postponed. Now, I know it's not to do with football, but I've just read on the news earlier today that there's been 122,000 new positive cases in the UK in the last 24 hours. So yesterday, basically. So that's unfortunately that's a record high for the UK. Since the first lockdown that we had, it never reached over 100,000, I don't think. It got close to 100,000, but it never got to like 120, bro. So this is getting worse and worse as we're going along.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that in probably like the Finished Article podcast, maybe later on today or maybe in a couple of days. But it's down to the incompetence of the government, basically. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we will cover that on.
We are definitely going to have to cover that.
Just to give you a bit of context, I've just checked the number of games that have been postponed. Yeah. Total reaching right now is 17 games.
In total?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's 17 games the Premier League has to find room for in an already congested fixture list.
The thing is, the final week all teams, like all the 10 games, have to be at the same time on the last day.
Correct, yeah.
So they have to fit all these games in, between the game weeks up until then. And where does that leave your fantasy football league? Like the game against Brentford was in week whatever, and now it's being pushed out to another week.
You know
do you
what?
get the points then, or do you get the points now?
Fantasy football doesn't cater for COVID, bro.
So it's just fucked up everyone's fantasy football, bro.
It needs COVID subs. That's what they need to introduce.
Yeah. Because that's bullshit, man. That like the game for United and Brentford, right? That gets moved to whatever game week. But then it should have been in such a game week. So do you get the points in the game week that it was actually for, or do you get it in the game week that it's going to be in? Because your squad's going to be different in both, isn't it?
That's a very good question. I'm not entirely sure.
I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that, bro.
I know that when Liverpool's game was cancelled the other day, everybody kept talking about the free hit. Me being the dumbass that I am, used my free hit way too early. So I might as well just go take a punch hit and change everybody because I don't even know who's playing and who isn't playing nowadays.
So I know we are going to wrap up in a bit, Shaz, but I just wanted to bring something up about football. The whole thing with COVID. How is that going to affect the January transfer window? Because players are going to be moving from country to country.
You know,
so
honestly,
COVID's going to hit that quite bad. COVID is going to cause issues for clubs signing people.
I'm glad you said that. I don't think it actually works because to get a player signed up, get him into the country.
But let's say you've got deadline day, right? So I'm not talking like all month. You've got 4 months to sign players, which is going to be easier. You can sign the player, and you can let him quarantine at home for, I think it's 5 days for football, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the quarantine for 5 days. He gets a private jet or whatever to the UK or whichever country. He comes, gets it to his house here, and then he quarantines for 5 days, and then he can join the first team or whatever. But it's going to be a pain in the ass. If you're looking for a player on the last day of the window, right, you try and sign him, but let's say you sign all the paperwork and everything. That player is now, let's say, a Man United player or Man City player, but he has to quarantine for 5 days when he gets here. He'll have to get his maybe a negative test before he even flies out. So he's not going to be able to play that first week, but he's still going to get paid because he's a new team, he's a player for that team. Yeah. So it's going to hit the clubs financially, and it's going to affect the first team once a player is signed as well for the club he's leaving and for the club he's going to. So
no doubt, bro. No doubt.
Essentially, what they should do is say, yes, the transfer window is January, but sign all your players in the first 2 weeks. So by the end of January, the player's at your club. And you're not waiting into February for that player to join your club. Do you get what I mean? But that's never going to happen, obviously. This is like...
It's actually good food for thought, bro. It's actually a good one for the forum because I don't think they've actually factored that in because...
No, definitely not, bro. Definitely not.
Last year wasn't so much of an issue, but this year it will be.
This year it's going to be more of an issue because, especially in the UK, because we've got a high number of cases, positive cases, and then you've got the Omicron variant flying rampant as well. So it is like you said, food for thought, bro. It's definitely something that football is going to have to take into consideration in January. And I think because of that, transfer deadline day will be a quiet day, but the month from 1st of January towards the last week will be busier because clubs will be trying to sign players quicker now because of COVID, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the better way to do it. Sign the player in the first week. By the 3rd or 4th week, he'll be at the club and ready to play for you. And just let's say the contract starts from the 1st of February. You've got a month to get the player to your club.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that is something that the FA and FIFA have to look at.
Yeah, definitely.
I just don't know how it works in the long run, but you know what? We'll see how things pan out in next week or so. 1st of January is around the corner.
Yeah, man. It's definitely going to be interesting because this January is going to be, I think COVID cases are going to carry on rising into January because we're not in lockdown and Christmas shopping was busy everywhere you went yesterday and today. And then you've got people going to be going out Boxing Day and this week coming because most people are off work and the people that aren't there probably still go out anyway. And then you've got New Year, people are going to have New Year parties. And then you've got New Year's Eve and everything. Cases are going to be high before they're going to hit an all-time high, higher than what they are now. I think we're going to get close to maybe 150. And by the time the government put us in a lockdown, it's going to be too late. Again.
As always.
But we will cover that in a separate video where we talk about literally everything and everything. But this has been All Things Football. This was just a quick little video to get something out in regards to COVID affecting football because it has affected it quite a lot. But yeah, I'll let Shaz give his final thoughts and we'll just wrap this one up.
Nice one, bro. Yeah, just as always, great to be back on. And I hadn't really had much to talk about football, but as Chelsea said, the COVID reared its ugly head again. But we're hoping that next couple of weeks we'll be able to bring some football content to you. But until next time, stay safe, guys. Have a good evening. Merry Christmas to everybody. And we'll talk about that shortly.
Oh yeah, that's why I brought the sign up, bro.